As Regional Partner Director, he's responsible for strengthening partnerships, fostering innovation, and enabling businesses to thrive in the digital economy. Please join me as I welcome the remarkable Jesudetan Onasanya, who is the Regional Lead Sub-Saharan Africa for Aleph Africa. Please put your hands together for him as he joins me on stage. Thank you. And our next panelist today is the co-founder and chief executive of Zowasel, an agriculture technology company dedicated to improving farmer productivity and sustainability through data science and digital modernization, a role that he has held for years now, and he's held this since 2017. He's dedicated to expanding Zowasel's reach and impact by promoting sustainability and inclusivity in agriculture. Please, a round of applause as I welcome the CEO of Zowasel, Jerry Oche. Thank you very much for being here. And we also have joining us the founding partner of Kickoff Africa. In the last few years, he has been focused on building global ecosystems that support innovators and entrepreneurs in different sectors, including finance, education, agriculture, logistics, media, entertainment, energy, consumer services, sports, and government. He has in that time led two of Africa's most successful accelerator programs in the past 10 years, Ventures Platform and Google for Startups Africa, formerly Google Launchpad. Please, a round of applause for founding partner Kickoff Africa, Mr. Fola Olatunji-David. Thank you. And now we have with us the co-founder and COO of SemiColon, a company that is enabling Africa's digital transformation by building tech-focused talent and businesses. He coordinates SemiColon's delivery of innovative solutions related to education, talent management, digital advisory, implementation services, and venture building. He has 2 decades of experience in delivering impact-focused work in locations worldwide. And now this person, she started a career in management consulting with IBM Global Business Services. Please join me as I welcome the co-founder and COO of SemiColon, Ashley Immanuel. A round of applause for her. And up next, we have the CEO and co-founder of SunFi, an omni-channel platform unlocking Africa's clean energy economy by empowering solar installer sales agents with tools and infrastructure to transition end consumers to accessible and sustainable solar and clean energy solutions. With an extensive background in energy modeling, infrastructure finance, project development, and management, Rotimi has been instrumental in scaling SunFi's impact, and the company has exceeded 7 megawatts of installed capacity, saving consumers over $2 million annually, and is impacting over 50,000 lives annually. Please, a round of applause for the co-founder and chief executive officer of SunFi, Rotimi Thomas. Thank you for being here. And to moderate this very rich conversation, I'd like to welcome a visionary creative leader reimagining brand storytelling and innovation for Africa's next generation. He brings an artistic yet strategic perspective to every conversation, connecting creativity, culture, and commerce. Please welcome with me the founder of Fourth Canvas, Victor Fatami, our moderator for this panel. A round of applause for him as he joins us on the stage. Thank you, Victor.
Good to see you again. Hello, everyone. Thank you for making it here. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Thank you to these amazing panelists. Okay, so I'm going to start. We have time. Time is running out, really, with quick intros from each of us. And I'd like to learn what your favorite city or town in Africa is, non-Nigerian. So just a quick start. Your names, what you do, and your favorite African city or town. Yeah, Nigerian cities are not allowed.
Okay. I'm Jesudetan Onasanya. You can call me JD, Regional Partner Director for Aleph Group, representing TikTok across Sub-Saharan Africa. Favorite city will be Cape Town for sure.
Why?
I mean, you need to see it. The scenery is just really amazing, so that's why.
Okay, thank you. I have a plus for Jesudetan.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jerry. So I lead the team at Zowasel. We're an AgTech company. We operate here in Nigeria and across East Africa. My favorite city would be Arusha. Arusha is a city in Tanzania.
Can I guess that that's a lot of arable land, does it?
Yes, I think it's the combination of that and the weather, the people, just...
Okay, I see.
The camp city.
Okay, nice. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Ashley Immanuel, CEO of SemiColon. We're building tech-focused talent and businesses in Africa. Favorite city outside of a very difficult competition, I think I'll choose Maputo. I've been there a couple of times when I was training for USAID some years ago. I love the ocean, and so the ocean, and then I like some of the downtown feel, and also some really lovely museums. Although it's the only city where I have trouble communicating because I don't speak Portuguese.
Nice, nice. Thank you.
Hi everyone. My name is Rotimi Thomas, and straight to it, by aspiration, my favorite city is Lagos. But
we said no Nigerian, but
in reality, I love Nairobi so far, yeah.
Nice. Why?
You can just ride your bike, you can go to the forest, you can see grass. Lagos is hard to find grass that you can just be in the park with and just be a human being. But I love Lagos though. Yeah.
You will like concrete.
Yes, exactly.
Nice. I wanted us to have that perspective. Think outside our space. Think outside Lagos, outside mainland, outside island, because this conversation is about Africa by design, and this is about the future. How can we own this? What does the future look like? What's our role in it? And I hope that we all leave this conversation with new perspectives, because our panelists will share from their perspectives of the work they're doing, what they see right ahead, and the roles we can play. And the way inspiration works is whatever sector you are listening from, some of these ideas might spark something. Sometimes, even though it's unrelated, it might spark something, make you think about something differently. So I'd like to start with Jerry. Good afternoon again. I'm curious, what does your work involves using technology as a way to increase inclusion and the productivity and how much value can be created for farmers and everyone involved. And if we were to zoom out and go to 2035, in 10 years' time, what do you think is the future of agriculture globally? What does it look like? Again, like Bill Gates wrote in his book, when he tried to predict the future, we would never really know for sure. But what does it look like from your perspective?
Yes, so that's very interesting, actually. So I think let's look at the present now, and then we can now predict what the future holds. So I think at the moment for us at Zowasel, so we use a number of technologies from AI to IoTs and lots of other technologies. But what's interesting now is adaptation. So what we have today, which is a major problem across the continent, is that the people we are building for are not using these technologies. Right? Mainly because what we have here, we have smallholder farmers, right? We don't have big farmers. We don't have commercial farms, right? Particularly in Nigeria, we have very small smallholders, right? So what we end up doing is having maybe their cooperative of having individuals who use it on their behalf, who are able to put them in, then use it, and maybe get them to benefit from it, but not them using it. But what we want is to have them to use these systems themselves for them to explore and improve their yield. So for example, what we do, we help farmers, so we use AI, data science, help farmers improve their yield, right? So we're able to tell what will grow here and what will not grow. So typically farmers across the continent and in Nigeria actually just plant what their great-grandfathers have been planting without having any knowledge or any science behind what grows and what doesn't grow, right? So, but if you want a farmer to do that now, you're going to have a problem because he or she cannot afford to use that, right? Use the technology, or even if they can, they won't have that patience and that clarity or purpose to understand why they need to use it and all of that. So in the future, what we want to see how the AgTech guys are able to provide kind of a knowledge, able to develop the economy or able to develop solutions that local people are able to adapt into local languages, right? We've seen a lot of models right now where local languages are now used. So maybe that will help our people to become a little bit illiterate in their own local languages, not Western illiteracy now, right? So in their local language, where they're able to adapt those technologies, able to make sense of those systems and adapt them themselves and use them themselves to improve their yield. They can predict their weather, for example. They can even look at their markets and all of that. So I think that's a major challenge. So in the future, what we would like to see, and I'm sure I'm speaking for a lot of my other colleagues in the industry, is to see where smallholder farmers are able to use technology to do everything they need to do, and not having maybe someone else use it from them, or someone just sit down and tell them what to do. So that would be the major feature. In the future, we also want to see how, if you ask me, for example, one of the major things is also the size of farm. How farmers are able to see it as commercial, is like a business, not like a non-profit, like a business, where they're able to look at it and use technology to understand that I can actually look at increase my farm because of the market. I can understand what the market is looking for. I can actually look at, I can get data and predict what will happen, right? In terms of the population growth, in terms of the demand for a certain commodity, in terms of what will happen in terms of weather and all of that. And now the timing, what crop I need to plant to look at, to bridge the gap.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Considering, Rotimi, before I ask you for your picture of the future, that rural penetration is also critical to what you do, right? I'm wondering if you have any similar experiences to adoption or understanding of the technology in your work. Then you could then follow that up with your picture of the future.
Okay. Yeah, so let me just clarify what we do at SunFi. It's short for Sun Finance. So as the name implies, we're trying to make solar energy and derivatives of that, so e-mobility and essentially clean technology in general, accessible to every single Nigerian and then to every single African on the continent. And the way we do that is by building an end-to-end platform that allows a customer like you now, if you want to say you want to get off generator or petrol generator or diesel generator, is voila. Where do you start? Which installer? Who do you find? Can you put it on my roof? How do I finance it? It's a nightmare. So for SunFi, we will give you an end-to-end orchestration of that entire nightmare and just simplify it. And then for entrepreneurs that are looking to find you and serve you, they can either start their own clean energy business on our platform, getting training on installation, sales, financing, logistics support, literally everything they need to start and expand their business on their platform, and then we connect those two things. And then the second thing we're also doing is we're building commercial parks, developing hundreds of them across the country. We're just going to start our pilot one this quarter. That will be 100% powered by renewables and the grid, no diesel generator. If there's diesel generator, it'll be backup to the backup to the backup. But this will be the first time that's ever been done in Nigeria. So we're reimagining existing infrastructure as it stands today, where there's already building infrastructure, but we're regenerating the communities with clean energy and long, stable priced electricity at the heart of those communities. Then we are inviting commercials into those parks. So data centers, supermarkets, electronic vehicle fleet owners, battery swap station owners, inviting those types of productive use commercials in to say, now you can come in. Electricity is not an afterthought, it is the forethought of the community. So there are two major things that we do. A lot of the situation as it is right now is, financing is one of the, we were talking about that earlier on, it's just such a major barrier. If in developed countries you need billions of dollars to make clean tech available to the citizens, to commercials, to utilities, etc., how much more important is it in a lower middle income country, right, to make these technologies that are capex intensive accessible? So I know the banks are doing their best, development finance institutions, but we just need a lot more. It's going to take billions of dollars to transition all the customers, tens of millions of people that are using diesel and petrol generators away from that onto clean tech. But I think that even more important than that is the workforce. There's millions of young men and women right now that are about to graduate. They have no jobs, nothing to step into. And our aspiration is that the minute they graduate, becoming a clean tech entrepreneur can be an amazing career choice, that they can say, you know what, I've heard I can start a solar or e-mobility business in my community, and all I need to go and do is meet this entity, and everything that I need to do end to end to serve and be a local champion, I can get it from there. So our vision of the future, therefore, is one in which every household, every small, medium, informal, and formal business in Nigeria gets off generator. It's the grid and solar and energy storage working together to make the most energetic people in the world become the most energized populace in the world, doing amazing things. And we will make that happen. Even if it's not us, somehow it's going to happen. It needs to happen for our country.
That's beautiful. A round of applause for our panelists so far. In case you guys didn't pick it, it's SunFi, not SunFi. Yeah, I needed to add that, because as a brand consultant myself, I care as much as you do. You mentioned workforce towards the end of what you shared, and I was curious that Ashley has a lot to say about that, the future of workforce. First, in the way you already think about it at SemiColon, but also in the ways they have, in terms of like the kind of things they're trying to do, for example, where does the workforce come in?
Yeah, thank you. It's a good question. And vision-wise, and I love to start there, our vision is that Africa will be home to a talented, thriving technology community. And we started SemiColon partly because we saw companies, from startups to large corporates, were suffering because of a lack of tech talent locally. But also, we started the company to address youth unemployment because of just what Rotimi described, right? We have so many unemployed, underemployed people ready and willing to work hard, looking for that right opportunity pathway. So our vision is, we know by 2040, half of the world's working age population will be in Africa. And so we not only have a lot of people who need employment, but that number is going to be growing. So if the workforce of the future is here, we feel very strongly now is the time to invest in building it. Historically, we've really underinvested in human capital in Nigeria, across Africa, but especially in Nigeria. So now is the time to be more strategic, I think more collaborative, and really prioritize investment in human capital and building that future workforce that we need.
Thank you so much for that, Ashley. Jesudetan, as our panelists have spoken about different solutions coming from different perspectives. Now, from the perspective of, would I call it, new age marketing and penetrating and reaching different audiences, what's going through your mind as you're hearing some of these really ambitious but important projects? So the future of marketing from your perspective, as well as in relation to some of these solutions.
Thank you so much. What I'm about to share is from my own personal introspection, being exposed to all of these platforms, both TikTok currently, but obviously Meta, Snapchat, think of it. But let's maybe take a step back and look at the past, right? Where are we coming from? Just look at the evolution of digital. There are 4 distinct eras that digital has gone through. The first is the age of context. So this was essentially your blogs, your online newspapers, even physical print newspapers. You know, there was a time when that was prevalent. I typically don't see this around it. I don't know if they still exist. But essentially, that was more about what the publisher wants people to see, right? What the publisher wants people to see, right? So the publisher controls the information, controls the narrative, and that becomes essentially an engine for propaganda, essentially. We quickly moved, following the internet boom, to the age of what? Age of knowledge. This was driven by the likes of Google, with Google search, where you could actually look for information that you really cared about. You could deep dive, you could research, and things like that. Then Mark and the team came up with Facebook, where it was the age of social. So this was very different because it was based on who you're connected to, the social networks, your friends, family, celebrity, and things like that. Where we are today is the age of content, right? The age of content is being driven beautifully by TikTok, right? In the sense that you don't need to be connected to a single entity, right, to start to see very curated content for you, right? And what this does is it allows, so much signal liquidity so that basically when you're running ads and marketing, you're getting, products and services that are, created for you. You see what I mean? So you're just going beyond, your sex, your state, your device type, and things like that in terms of targeting. But you're basically, getting based on your preference. And this is not just, there are multiple layers of data that's been collected by platforms to actually see that you're an high intent targeted user, for example, to deliver exactly the product that the platform believes that you need. Where I think we're going 10 years from now, and maybe even sooner, and this is my own personal thinking, right, is sort of a merge of the age of social and the age of content. So it's taking your social graph and your content graph together and becoming a very powerful force in this sense. And I'll give an example. So imagine, for example, you have a partner and they ask you typically when you get back from work, how was your day, right? And usually everyone becomes a storyteller. You start to say, oh, I went here, oh, this person did this and all of that. Now think about the evolution of wearable technology, where you could actually share your day by just sharing it with them because you actually captured everything. You see what I mean? Through whether it's your Meta glasses or things like that. And essentially what that does is they could maybe take a 30-second clip of how your day actually went. It's a really immersive, interactive version of your day. What that does is it allows you to share more personalized content, right? In a private feed, of course. If you want to do it public, because we want to share maybe personal content publicly, that's fine. But because you're sharing more personalized content, there's a lot of signals that you're giving to the platforms, right? So all of a sudden, you're getting an ad that actually solves your problem, rather than an ad that is just, off. There's sometimes you're like, why am I seeing this kind of ad? It just doesn't make any sense to me, right? And essentially what that does as well in terms of marketing is, if you look today now globally, there is no industry where you're getting, more than 10% conversion rates. So when you spend $1 million, for example, on marketing, you will get less than 10% conversion rate. So it means that 90% is actually being wasted. You see, but a lot of businesses are, churning out money, but getting, they're okay with this. This is not okay. Now, with this new technology and this sort of social and content graph modulation, what you see is that you start getting higher conversion rates. Efficiency will become the name of the game. You're no longer wasting money running ads. For example, small businesses. When I speak to small businesses, they tell me, please, if I spend $50, if I spend 50,000 on my ad, how much am I going to make? Can you guarantee me that I'm going to get this kind of results? This kind of technology will allow you to get high conversion rates as high as 80%, 90%. This for me is the future, both content-wise and also in marketing.
Wow. Thank you. You spoke about a $10 million budget now. So let's assume that each of Rotimi, Ashley, and Jerry have $10 million each to advance their missions. How do you advise? What's one tip, quickly? How should they spend that? Put everything on TikTok?
Of course not. Do not put everything on TikTok. I wouldn't advise that. I think it depends on your category. It depends on your industry, right? And I think just to share with you what I see happening, for example, in Nigeria and other parts of Africa as well, most businesses in Nigeria are focused on performance. They're very focused on unit economics. They're focused on bottom line, right? They want to make sure that what they're doing is cost, efficient, effective, and things like that. And that's very good because you can scale. Because it works, you scale. It doesn't work, you dump it. You see what I mean? And this is good. But also in Kenya, for example, they're more brand builders, right? Because in Nigeria is a very price-sensitive market. If people find a cheaper product, they move. We're very unloyal. But in Kenya, for example, they're very loyal. And there's a story of Bolt and Uber I don't want to get into because of time. But essentially, they are focused on brand building. And the downside of that is because they're not focused on performance and more on brand building, although they get loyal customers, they're not really concerned about unit economics, right? So that's always the CFO's headache, right? What I think needs to happen, right, and also for everyone here, is when you get some amount of money, whether you're raising or anything like that, you've got to merge both together, right? You've got to do what I call brand formats, right? Focus on your unit economics for sure, but also build brand. Do a lot of brand building so you can, because one of the issues in Nigeria is you struggle with churn. So you get a lot of users. You see them post on LinkedIn. We've got like 1 million users, but ask them how many users they have 6 months later. Now it's 800,000. It keeps declining. You have to do both so that you keep stickiness. You keep getting those retention and all of that. That's what I advise.
Okay. So in summary, you bring 50% of it to Fourth Canvas. You send the remaining to TikTok. Nice. Rotimi, how is it going in terms of like gaining adoption for what you're trying to do? Both from, you already spoke about how it would, even in developed countries, billions of dollars is going to these same intentions. How is it going in Africa? And what do you think can change about that, both on the consumer side as well as on the investor side? Yeah.
It's a good question. I think before fuel subsidy removal, that infamous day, it was painful for the country, but obviously it was going to happen at some point in time. Maybe the way it happened was interesting. But I think that was a watershed moment for the electrification industry in Nigeria, because since most of us have been alive, there's always been, well, at least some of us have been alive on this panel, at least, there's been this hidden cost of consumption. People are getting subsidized fuel. We're getting subsidized electricity. We're still getting subsidized. If I tell you what the proper cost of a fully electrified Nigeria will be, most of you will run out of this room, so I won't say that, right? The truth is, we have not been paying the right price, but we've also not been getting a great service, right? So the future that we are trying to build is one in which you pay the right price, and I'm sorry to say that's going to take some getting used to for most of us in Nigeria. We're always trying to price everything like tomatoes, right? But we want to see a future in which you pay the right price and you get an amazing service. And that agentic age, not just with AI, but with regards to infrastructure, decentralized infrastructure services. From the rider that's delivering your food, that they were powering it using fuel before. In the next few years, all of those bikes are going to be electrified. The data centers, they were spoken about earlier on, they are in other countries, but there's going to be localized data centers. How are we going to power those data centers? And so the shift that has happened right now with the removal of those subsidies is that an externalized cost is now being internalized by every household, every business, every agency, and we're seeing a mass adoption of customers saying, I need to get off my generator. The grid, unfortunately, has not met the moment, and so there's a lot of their customers that they will just simply never get to, and those customers are going to be completely off-grid. So I think that we're just at the start of a once-in-a-generation lifetime transition to what will become the highest per capita adoption of clean energy in the world. So that's where I think we are. We're still literally at the infancy of that adoption. We're behind Pakistan. Pakistan has the highest rooftop solar penetration in the world per capita. But if you follow our demographics, we're going to exceed that and become the clean energy capital of the world, I think. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we should. Still on infancy, right? Jerry, what you said about the adoption of these technologies. As you think about this challenge, are you currently focused on gaining more of that adoption or exporting what you are building to other countries? Like, what's the vision for your organization? And I wanted to answer that by also answering what should be, I mean, we can't really say what should be, but how do you think entrepreneurs should think about growth? Should we be thinking about sufficiently serving Africa with everything we're doing? Or should we be trying to export companies to the world the same way global companies bring their products to us and we're consuming the world?
Thank you very much. Let me start with the last one. So I think for me, I would say when you are building, you build for you build for the world or you build for Africa. Now you start small and think that, because the idea is that what we see today is that actually when we started, we focused mainly on building what we're building for Nigeria. Even Nigeria focused on some regions, but gradually we begin to see people from Cameroon, from Benin, Togo actually reaching out to us about solutions, and we wonder how we're not building this for you, right? So that gave us an idea that, okay, so actually what we are building could be used by anybody around the world. So my advice to entrepreneurs is actually build for the world, but focus your market. So there's what we call one company, one product, one market, one revenue model. So you need to start with that principle. Then as you grow, you begin to add new markets, new opportunities. But it's important to have the idea that as simple as selecting a country, can be available in your product from day one. I can tell, right? The problem is, some of the problems we're trying to solve here are also universal problems, right? So that is that. I think in terms of what you talk about the future, I think is in our space, for example, you at the moment you have to build, you have to solve the current problem and hoping that, rather, while you are building, you are driving adaptation. At the same time, you're also looking at the immediate solution of having third party who use that solution to provide that solution to farmers, right? Which we call them maybe merchants or agents, right? But in the future, what we'll see will happen is, if we want that to change, then there have to be some mix of innovation from ourselves and also some policy change. So, for example, if you look at Eastern European countries who actually transformed to first world countries, what they did was to change policy in terms of even land size, right? To say, for example, for you to be a farmer, you must have a minimum of XYZ number of hectares, right? So that automatically, it's like what we did in Nigeria with the banks, merger and acquisition. So if you do that kind of policy where you have, for you to say you're a farmer, you have to come as a group and have one land, not cooperative having smaller pieces of land, but having one pieces of massive land that become one as a farm, right? So that will aid adaptation very quickly. Because at that point, you can't move around the farm just guessing. You need to use solutions or technologies to improve what you're doing. So I think that's something very important. Then we also need to see mass literacy, training about business model. Maybe business schools in local languages. People are able to turn around and get some learnings in their local dialect and all of that, that would be able to understand agriculture is business, right? The way we see big entrepreneurs in the city, we should see farmers like we see in the US, we see big farms, we should see farmers also learning farming business, still as a business, not just as an opportunistic event or hobby, just because I'm in the village or just because I need to feed my family. Yeah.
Wow, that's profound. You already answered what was going to be my final question for you, which is, what do you think is the most important thing that we should do from your perspective? And I think you've spoken about policy and then education. Right. Thank you very much. Round of applause for Mr. Jerry. The clock says I have 51 seconds to go, 48, 47. That's not true. I was given 40 minutes, please, but we will try to round up already. Ashley, he ended with education. What is the most important thing for us to do if we're going to be intentional about building the future of Africa?
Invest in human capital.
Human capital.
Yeah, we've neglected it. We have to deeply invest in human capital. It's going to be farmers, it's going to be clean tech innovators and technicians and so forth. Maybe content creators, right? But we need to create the people. Even if we're using increasingly technology and tools and so forth, we're, at least in the near few decades, we're going to have humans still innovating, making decisions, building human-centric solutions, so forth. We need the people who are able to do that, both in order to drive that market, creating innovation, prosperity, those global solutions, and to avoid some crises that might come alongside having a burgeoning unemployed population with no future. So I think that comes at all levels. At government level, budget-wise, we've underinvested in human capital compared to other countries in Nigeria, so I think that could be reevaluated. But government-owned budget can still only go so far, even if they tweak some numbers. I think that we also need to really collaborate and innovate around how do we, as industry and across other partners in this room, inclusive of, how do we collectively innovate around financing and building that human capital we all require. I'm still seeing too much disconnect between institutions. Every employer complains that they don't have talent. Some of them might run their own graduate trainee program or, sponsor a few scholarships. All the companies doing their own programs, small programs on the side in silos, are not going to solve that problem. So we're going to need to think much more collectively, move away from that scarcity mindset of how do I keep my people from leaving to abundance mindset of how do we collectively build that talent pool that we require.
Just before you drop the mic, final question for you. Everyone is listening here, builders of the future. How should we use AI in terms of this education? Because the education can come from existing educational platforms and it can come from individuals who already have access to technology. What's your advice for AI in self-education in that sense?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, and you spoke to this a bit in the context of farming, I think that AI can be a tool. Any solution should still be human-centric. So we want to be learner-centric in our design of solutions. AI gives us some more tools to do that, and local language, right? Delivery is a good example. Access to quality virtual tutors or interactive new methods of instruction, dissemination and so forth. So AI can really enable the delivery of learning if we build the right structures around doing so.
Nice. A round of applause for Ashley. Final words from Jesudetan and Rotimi before she grabs my mic.
Well, final words is I'm looking forward to a future in Africa that is designed by Africans for Africa. That's my final words.
Thank you. A round of applause for Jesudetan for his insights.
Yeah, the future is bright, the future is clean, and let's build it together.
Nice. We made it.
You did.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your insight. I hope we learned something.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. A round of applause for the panelists once again.